following program contains language and subject matter that you may consider unsuitable for children. Parental discretion is advised.
Greetings, Earthling. His Highness the Jackal.
The Jackal.
I'm going to pass the reins to Mr. Jackal, the new king of radio.
I think Jackal's Latino. I'm not sure, but he'll give it to you good.
The Jackal.
And we're live once again on PSN-radio.com. That's right, guys, PSN Radio. We're live every Sunday night at 10 p.m. to midnight. And we're going to have a fun time tonight. We have a lot to get to. At some point in the night, we're going to say something that's going to piss somebody off. So sit back, relax. We're all under quarantine. We're all in lockdown mode at the moment. So we're all going through this thing together. And as usual, with me on this journey on Sunday nights is my sidekick, the one and only Brandon, Brother Detox. And he's waiting in the wing there to be acknowledged when I ask him a question like a good soldier does. This is a war on globalism. And joining me tonight is going to be the one and only Kaiser. He's going to join us for Kaiser's Corner within the 30-minute mark. And one rescheduling that did happen within the last couple hours, we're going to have Carlo Mendez join us actually next month. He had a family emergency and he couldn't make it onto the show this week. So he's going to join us early next month. We got him rebooked. So tonight on the second part of the hour, we're going to have a return voice of a different kind. The wise frog himself, right from the swamps, Arizona Tramp. He's going to join us for about a good portion of the show. It's going to be fun, hearing from what he has been up to and coming back full circle to PSN Radio. Guys, if you haven't checked this out yet, please go to the website, psn-radio.com. Look at all the current shows on there. We have a lot of great content. But besides that, my page, of course, is angelespino.com. I want you to go there also. I want you to bookmark both of these sites. And from there, I want you to migrate over to my Patreon page. And check me out on patreon.com, Angel Espino, and patreon.com, PSN Radio. Please join the fight. Help us out on Patreon and chip in. And, that's how we stay afloat here on the network and on the shows. We're not monetized in many other ways, so your support goes a long way. Please help us out as much as possible. A couple bucks help. Believe me, a couple bucks do help. We're, of course, going to be joined shortly here by Kaiser. And Brandon, like I said, is waiting for me to get him going and start asking him stuff to feed off of, because that's his trabajo. And we have a lot to get to. I got a couple audio clips which are very important. And one has to do with a church that doesn't want to listen. They've been told right now it's not a good time to go outside and congregate and be in large groups. So what do? They do the opposite of what's being told to them. Now, mind you, we're not in a lockdown being enforced by FEMA worldwide yet. But the president has put this out there that we all need to be careful and that we all need to kind of stay indoors for right now so we can, let this thing blow over. That's a smart thing to do. That's the humane thing to do, because you might not be showing symptoms and still be carrying whatever this invisible nightmare is, this COVID-19, this coronavirus. You still might be infected, and you might get others infected who might get others infected, and we never get rid of this pandemic. So for now, whether you believe it's a hoax, whether you think it's real, let's play it safe. Stay indoors. So, Brandon, what are your thoughts, man? I know you have a lot to probably say right now, and I know that you're taking it serious, even though you're not a Trump supporter, by no means. I know you've taken this very serious.
Oh, I was reading, I don't know if it's true or not, you may have seen it, but the president of the Philippines was telling the police to shoot people that violated the curfew. I'm like, he's got my phone.
You know what I'm saying? I would vote for this man.
I would
straight
too.
up.
Next governor of Florida, at least he takes action.
You know, at least he has a little bit of what's that thing called that's in your head? Brains.
Yes.
You know, he has a little bit of that left. It's amazing how, like, I've seen reports, and it's not just Florida. We want to shit on our own state. You know, it's not just here. In Texas, they're doing this shit. New York, they were doing this stuff. You know, when they say stay indoors, because, you know, we're not out of the woods yet, that doesn't mean go to church, you know? And, I have a funny audio clip, and, you know, reporters are also guilty of this because they go and, like, they put the microphone right in front of people's faces. It's like, dude, if you're supposed to be quarantined, that also means you, reporter. But they actually went to a church and they started asking a bunch of the churchgoers. And Brendan, you have to hear this piece of audio. It's absolutely hilarious. I'm going to play the clip in a second here. A bunch of churchgoers, okay, trying to, I guess, explain away what the hell it is they're doing at church. We're all supposed to be quarantined. Like, what part of guys, stay indoors with your family, stay away from big groups? Don't these people understand? I mean, I don't get it. I mean, can you give me some reason behind that before I play the clip? Because this is absolutely hilarious.
I've heard of this happening in, I think it was Tampa or St. Pete, that I got word of another one in Louisiana somewhere. I'm not sure what town it was, but same deal. You got these people meeting in these churches, and I'm like, I hope your immune system is just as strong as your faith. But I'm sure not to knock down my church people, but I'm like, this is a government order. You guys need to keep yourselves in. And pastors, shame on you all. If any one of you is listening, I hope somebody's listening as a pastor or a priest or whatever you want to call yourselves. But this is not about making money for the church. I do not care about I'm not giving money to anybody right now. Okay?
That's what it is. It's about pass the collection plate.
Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord.
We need a new Mercedes 2019 in my garage and pass.
I need my Escalade outside to get paid. You know, I'm not trying to get that repossessed this month. You know.
Yes. Even though my bank account has about $500,000 in it, which I know you don't, I still need your money. Even though you're living paycheck to paycheck, because it's all covered in Jesus' blood.
Let's bow our heads and pass the collection tray. Bow your heads and let's pray.
Let us pray.
Pass the collection tray around.
Is a woman who just attended a church service with dozens of other people, including children.
Can I ask you about your decision to go to church, to be inside that building?
I wouldn't be anywhere else.
Aren't you concerned you could infect other people if you get sick inside?
No.
People who don't go to this
church.
No.
I'm covered in Jesus' blood. I'm covered in Jesus'
blood.
What
about other people who don't go to this church who you might encounter?
All of these people go to this church.
No, but you're going to be in places where other people
I go to the grocery store every day. I'm in Walmart,
what?
Home Depot, all of those people.
But you could get them sick from what happens.
They could get me sick, but they're not because I'm covered in his blood. Thank you very much.
90 minutes earlier, we watched as people arrived at this evangelical congregation, the Solid Rock Church in Cincinnati. This couple about to walk in with a toddler and a baby. And then there is this woman and man arriving. The woman hugs the man. That same man hugs the woman inside. The arriving woman hugs the man inside. And then she hugs a woman. Church leaders would not talk to us on camera, but have posted this statement which implicitly refers to the pandemic and adds, for that reason, we believe that the doors of Solid Rock Church should remain open.
The church says it practices social distancing inside, but the pastors would not allow us in, so we have no way of confirming that. Either way, it doesn't address the potential dangers of large gatherings. What if one person is infected? You're all in that building together. It's a large gathering.
I am absolutely not concerned. The blood of Jesus cures every disease. Psalms 91, read it.
Miss, you can get somebody else sick if you get sick inside.
Well, what if you got it? You can get me sick.
What if you get others sick, though, who don't go to this church?
There's not one person sick.
How do you know?
Because I know I'm the pastor.
But how do you know?
Because I would hear about it if somebody was sick.
Well, you could be asymptomatic, sir.
You better not print no fake news about me, or you'll hear from me.
What we heard were a lot of people who made up their minds. This man, though, sounded a bit different.
I see both sides of the story.
You do see both sides, though.
Oh, yeah. I see both sides.
Well, why not just pray on the internet, pray with your family right now to keep people a little safer?
It's called values and liberty. You have the choice as an American.
But if you're infected, sir, and you go into the grocery store and you run into someone and get them infected, that's
why not flip it the other way?
That could happen too.
You know,
you're increasing your chance of getting them sick, right?
Could be.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
The blood of Jesus is going to save us all, Brandon. It's going to save us from sure death. So let's all get in a big group, and let's all hug, hold hands, and say, Amen. Come on. Hold my hand,
$5 in the tray. Amen.
Amen. There you go. And please pass the collection plate and donate. Donate! Speaking of donations, I do want to give out our Patreon page. So, guys, this is a serious moment on Inside the Jackal's Head. Following a little comedy, go to patreon.com/PSN Radio and hook the network up. We feed off of your donations because that helps keep us going, helps the lights stay on at night. Also, Angel Espino, you can find me on Patreon. Your help will be appreciated. See, I could do the Pass the Collection play too, but at least we're not all gonna die from it. You know, just go to my Patreon page. Help a brother out. Now, Brandon, that's absurd audio, but that's real legit audio you heard over there with the pastor. And his excuse is, of course, it's the will, it's our freedom. Okay, so you got the freedom to be an idiot and die, but, really? Honestly, is there any excuse to put everybody in danger, including children? We saw there on the audio, we heard on the audio, parents with toddlers. And just because this virus, COVID-19, has been, kind of unknown to hit young people, doesn't mean it doesn't kill young people. We've had reports already of children that have died from it. One came on not long ago. How many of them might be sick? And yeah, they might not die right away, but it might linger. And the younger the baby, I'm sure they're more at risk. If you got toddlers in a church and somebody's infected, do you not think you're not putting your kids at risk by taking them in an area like this? I just don't get it. And with the response like that from the pastor, I wouldn't, think that church is too sanitized as it is, considering, Brandon, they're all covered in Jesus' blood. That's old blood. It's mighty, mighty old blood. So what are your thoughts on that audio, Brandon? What do you think? What are your 2 cents?
That's the scariest damn thing I've heard all day. I do not walk around professing I'm covered in Jesus' blood. That sounds a little selfish to me.
Like, why him? Why them? Out of the billions of people on the planet, the trillions and trillions of stars in the cosmos. Yeah, this one pastor from nowhere in Texas. I got Jesus' blood on me, and on my churchgoers, they're all covered in his blood.
I say quarantine everybody in that church and test everybody for COVID at the church's expense.
What we need to do is take part of this $2 billion, trillion, cajillion dollar bill that they passed through the Congress and then the White House, and what they really need to do is get all these churchgoers back into that church and build a goddamn wall around the church and segregate them forever. Because and as many idiots like them as we find, just throw them in there. Just in one little church. Eventually they'll all spread the virus, and that'll be the perfect world population control. The dumber you are, we just put them in that church and have the wall around them. Hey, don't get mad at me. China does this. Do you not understand how they got the brightest and the best tourists in China? Because they get the idiots out of the way, and they're like, oh, okay, little Chao Ping, you go to the dumb corner over there and don't bother the smart ones. And then you see Chao Ping becomes like a sumo wrestler or some shit. And they get the smart Chinese to build shit like the COVID-19. Yay, China. Which, by the way, LeBron James loves China. Right? Hey, LeBron, how's that working out nowadays? Huh? You know, it's ironic that, the country's going through this with China at the moment. And as I was watching a video clip earlier, Brandon, this is also really funny. This is a reporter. Yes, she's Chinese. And ironically enough, an Asian reporter, asking the president a couple of questions, and the left tried to spin it like if the president lost his cool and he went at the reporter and he just lost it. If you really listen to the audio, though, he doesn't really lose it. He explains, what's going on, but the spin is so crazy that they would make you think that he really did lose it. And I want to play this because I want people to actually hear the question from the Chinese Asian reporter and the way she is talking to the president. And mind you, we never had reporters ever, even when Bush was in office, Obama, Clinton, whatever. Whenever they did their briefings, they came out on back then it was really like satellite TV or cable TV, where you'd be able to see all these presidential briefings. Now we have internet, we have YouTube, you can watch it everywhere. But, back in the day, you had to sit back and watch it, on cable TV or satellite. And I don't remember anybody ever getting this abusive when the president's allowing you to ask a question. And then when the president says, okay, now next, the person says, no, I still have more questions. No, you already asked your question. It was a stupid question. He answered it. So, that's it. Everybody needs to get a turn, right? Am I right or wrong on that, Brendan? Because, when you're allowing reporters to ask questions and you answered the question and now it's time to move to another reporter, common courtesy is, okay, now it's their turn. I mean, that's how it works, right? Or am I wrong on that?
No, you're absolutely right.
Okay. So, not only is this woman rude to the president, but then they tried to spin it. Because that's all that this is. A lot of this is a lot of spin. Like, they're saying, oh, the president wasn't ready. We were not ready. He put us in a bad position. Remember, this is the same president that closed, flights from China. When everybody's saying, oh, that's racist and xenophobic. How dare he do that? But he did it, and then you had Nancy Pelosi in San Francisco saying, it's okay. There's no worries with this virus. Same week, by the way. The president is blowing this out of proportion. Come on down to San Francisco and party. Come on down. I'm here with the people. So, who's the one calling it a hoax? The guy who's shutting down flights coming in saying, guys, we have a problem here. Or the left who's telling people in San Francisco, of all places, which is a shithole right now, and the person who represents that city in California, okay, who's the one that's being irresponsible? Not the president. The idiot who's the Speaker of the House telling people when there is a problem and the president's warning, hey, this is an issue. Instead of listening and paying attention, she's like, no, come on. Everybody in San Francisco, come on and party. That's irresponsible. But the left doesn't want to report that. What they want to do is just smear, spin. And I'm going to play this audio, and then we're going to have, a discussion about it. But first, before we do that, I do want to pull into the call here our good friend Kaiser with Kaiser's Corner, because this is his time, and I'm sure he's going to want to hear this audio with us also and discuss what's happening here. Because, Brandon, I'm just amused, because remember, I for years I was liberal, I was Democrat, and I left the party because of this, brainless mentality that's happening. And it's incredible. Like, I'm so ashamed at what used to be my party, because it was never like this when I was there. And now we're joined by Kaiser, our good friend, for Kaiser's Corner, and we're discussing something that is just so illogical. And I wanted to hear his point of view before anything else. Kaiser, welcome to Inside the Jackal's Cabeza with myself, of course, and sidekick Brandon.
Hey, how's it going, Brandon and Angel? Yeah, I'm inside the Jackal's head, brother. And just call me Kaiser Chow Ping tonight. And
Kaiser
I'm
Chow Ping.
In the love and blood of God.
There you go. You're washed in the blood of Allah.
There you go, my friend. There you go. Yeah, go on, brother. What's up tonight?
Oh, what isn't up tonight? I mean, I'm at a loss for words at how stupid some people are on this planet. Did you hear the audio I played of the church chorus a couple minutes ago?
Oh, yeah, that's why I said I'm washed in the blood of God.
Like, how stupid are some of these people? And look, obviously that guy sounded like a Trump supporter with some of the rhetoric he said. And I'm not saying that, again, I'm neither right or left. I'm very central, and I'll call it both ways. If you're being stupid, you're being stupid. If you're not listening, you're an idiot. And I don't care if you're a Trump supporter, if you're a leftist, socialist, communist, as long as you're a human being, pay attention. And for months, the president has been saying there's problems coming out of China, right? He closed the airlines coming in from China. He was trying to warn everybody. And we've known about COVID-19 since January. This is not something that just automatically sprung into place. Okay? So, what is incredible is that you have, people like Nancy Pelosi telling everybody in San Francisco, oh, come on down. The same week that the president is shutting off all airlines coming in, and she's playing it off like it's no big deal. Now she's saying, well, see, the president is, responsible because he didn't get to this early enough. Woman, he was talking about it when you were telling people to party. Okay, so don't give me that excuse. And then you have the idiocracy of what, happens afterwards, where they start calling him a racist and a xenophobe, all the while the man was right. He saved lives by doing what he did early on. They don't want to give him credit. I want to play this audio that we're all going to get to hear of a reporter, a Chinese Asian reporter, not to pick on the Chinese because I have Chinese in me. So this is not, and I don't mean that in a sexual way, guys. Relax.
Yeah, okay.
I mean that my great-grandfather was from China.
That, right?
Yeah, I know you're about to. I know you were. But I want you to hear this, and we're going to get to discussing this. Kaiser, Ching, Kaiser. You're going to be with us for a good portion of the show tonight because your voice is important, my friend. You've been in the other side of the war, and you know exactly what happens when you have the boots on the ground. So I want you to stick around, and I want to get your insight on this audio that I'm going to play here, because this is something that is complete spin, okay? And they're labeling this as, oh, Trump lost it with this reporter. He didn't lose it. He answered a question perfectly And I want you to hear this because I want you to hear the spin. It's incredible. Check this out.
Commissioner said the notion of the federal stockpile was it's supposed to be our stockpile. It's not supposed to be state stockpiles that they then use. What did he mean by our?
Oh, what are you asking?
And even the fact that taxpayers from
what's
every
that? It
state pays
gotcha.
for it. No,
Use
it's
the
not
word
gotcha.
our.
What
Our, you know what our means? United States of America. That's what it means. It means
the states.
Our. It means the United States of America. And then we take that our and we distribute it to the states.
So why did
Not
you say
that we
it's
have
not
to,
supposed to be state stockpiles that they then...
because we need it for the government and we need it for the federal government. But when the states are in to also keep
It's not to the states.
to keep for our country, because the federal government needs it too, not just the states. But out of that, we oftentimes choose, as an example, we have almost 10,000 ventilators, and we are ready to rock with those ventilators. We're going to bring them to various areas of the country that need them. But when he says our, he's talking about our country. He's talking, he's talking about the federal government. I mean, it's such a basic, simple question, and you try and make it sound so bad. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. You know what? You ought to be ashamed. It's such a simple question. He said our, and our means for the country, and our means for the states, because the states are a part of the country. Don't make it sound bad. Don't make it sound bad. Go ahead, Steve. Go ahead, back here. You just asked your question. You just asked your question in a very nasty tone. Let's go. Please. Mr. President.
Okay, now, does that sound like he is losing it when he answered a question, guys?
No, he didn't lose it. I heard and saw that clip already, and they I don't know what they're talking about. He lost it. He was just explaining what was going on. This is one time I'll say he didn't do anything wrong.
And you're not a Trump supporter. You're not like me. You didn't vote for the guy. But
right.
I mean, how much more clear does he have to be? Remember, we're in a crisis. This is how stupid some people are. They don't understand that each state has a governor. What is the governor's job? To govern the state. The United States of America, right? The president, the White House, that portion of it is the backup for each one of these states. They come together in the United States of America. So when each state needs resources, they look to the government. But what is socialism? That's different. Socialism is the government controls everything. And that's why she's asking that like that. Because she wants socialism or communism, which is the same shit at the end of the day. It's the government controlling everybody's lives and controlling everything, including the distribution of everything the way they see fit. Now, the way that the real, our country works and the way it really should be is like, listen, we're here to back you up. It's ours, so we distribute it as case by case. Every state that needs it the most is going to get it. We're in a crisis. We haven't had this kind of dilemma where the whole world is affected and stopped in over like 100 years. So, I mean, it's not like we're, so ready for this because it's happened all the time at this level that, they're trying to make it out like, oh, it's all Trump's fault. He's been president for like 25,000 years. He should have been ready for this. He's been in office for a few years. It's ridiculous. Kaiser, go for it.
Well, I got kind of a long answer. First off, in the Pledge of Allegiance, it says to the Republic, our nation state is based upon a nation state with a capital S, because the states within that state have a small s. We're a republic, and to the Republic, based off the Roman republics. Mm-hmm. And there were governors in every republic. And it's the same thing. This has been going on for centuries, the way a republic operates. The governor governs his area of jurisdiction, his small state. The state comes in for a major crisis. And I have to correct you on the length of time. It's been a little over 50 years because the Cold War, and remember, I'm an old Cold Warrior.
Oh, yeah,
this kind of level, people who grew up in the 80s, I think you did. I know I did. In the 70s,
Guilty.
80s, 60s, 70s, 80s.
Yeah.
There was a time in the 80s when Jobs, it was right after Carter, after he destroyed the country, and he was the smartest president we ever had. I liked Carter as a human being and still do, so I'm not going to blow shade on him, but he was inept as a leader, as a president. And because of his failures and, the Iran hostages and all this stuff, and I went into the military 5 years after this crap. And the Cold War, during that time of struggle, I remember going down to get the free government cheese, which, by the way, was the best tasting cheese outside of cheddar. And there's a reason why those blocks of cheese, the dried milk, all that stuff they were able to give out to the citizens during this tough time was because of the Cold War. We used to have warehouses full of this stuff just in case of nuclear attack. That was the last time we had our FEMA is a direct result. The Stafford Act is what made it come into being, the original Stafford Act, but it used to be called civil defense. And you could go into schools. Every school had to have a fallout shelter built into it. Businesses did. Even my home. My home was built in the 1880s. When my house was built, there was nothing in there. There wasn't even a basement. You can see the levels of my basement. And on the back end of my castle, I have a bomb shelter. And I didn't even know I had that when I first bought it. I didn't look at the whole basement. I just thought it was this small area. And all of a sudden, when we move in, I'm like, Jesus, I got this massive area back here behind this door. And, it was a door within a door. And
was it covered in Jesus' blood, though?
Huh?
Was it covered in Jesus' blood?
Just like me. Just like me. But no, I'm just saying, well, it's been around since 1880. A flood almost took it out about a week ago. That's the first time we've ever had water that high. But, and we're up high. But the point is, yeah, man, I mean, Americans have always prepared for stuff, but under Obama, I hate to say this, we had the H1N1 virus, which is way worse so far than this one is. He did bupkis for it for 6 months. What did we lose?
Yep.
40,000 people, I think.
Yep.
And, he had inept leadership, but people liked him. I didn't like him because I read his books, Dreams from My Father and all that, and his other book that was shadow written by, I can't think of the professor's name now. He launched this campaign out of his house. Anywho, that's my thinking on it, and for everybody to be blaming this, that, and the other, my biggest thing about this is the panic. I'm not worried about the virus so much. I agree with social distancing, all this crap. My point is the panic. And our store lasted for weeks without any weird panic. And all of a sudden, our stores one day, me and my wife go in there every day to get, what we're going to eat for that day. One day we go in there and the water and toilet paper's gone. And we'd been hearing about this from everywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
yep.
So then we didn't look in the parking lot going in, but coming out, I started seeing other counties' plates. So the idiots who haven't prepared like everybody else normally should. I mean, dude, I'm preparedness minded and always have been. I'm a classic old survivalist before they made us all racist by just a flip of a turn. But I think everybody on this show knows I'm not a racist because I'm talking with you. The ridiculousness of that is Americans have always been prepared. And these idiots going after, there was a meme, I think you may have seen it on my page. After 300 million die in America, one trend emerges. All their asses sparkling clean.
I haven't seen that one, but link it to me. It sounds funny. When I said about 100 years earlier, I know you're absolutely right, but I'm talking about virus-wise. We haven't been quarantined like this to the point, that it's something that is spread media-wise and,
right. Since 1918, right.
Right, it's about 100 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand wartime when we're, and by the way, I don't like shitting on Carter either because if it wasn't for his administration, I wouldn't be in this country. They're the ones that, negotiated the Mario boat lift and allowed it to go into place. And that's how I got here in 1980.
Right.
And it was all legal, by the way. I'm a legal immigrant. Not an illegal, right, I'm legalized. Yeah. And
You were legal from the time you got here. You don't have to justify yourself. We all know that, brother.
No. The reason I'm saying is because some people are like, "How could you be pro-Trump? You're a Latino, and he wants to get rid of you." No, I came here legally. In fact, I was here before before any of this was a big issue, and the person who made it available was Carter, and then Reagan. Two different parties allowed us to come in, and to top it off, my mother had to win a special lottery given by the United States to get on the boat, because she was scheduled to leave to Spain in 2 years through flights that my dad would send him, because he was already in Spain at the time, legally also. But she said, you know what, I'm going to see if I can get, on this a little earlier. And she went and then registered for this special gift that they were giving out, which was, just allowing certain people to come in that were, clean, had no history at all of being imprisoned, which my mom was a very clean person. So they did this special lottery to get some of the better people, because Castro was sending over some of the really nasty guys from prison, and Carter knew that. And Carter was kind of like letting that slide because, he's, after all, he is leftist, and, they let certain things slide. But when Reagan came into power, Reagan said, you know what, let's have this lottery, because this is, I think, a little bit better of an idea. And it's going to at least, clean up a little bit of the mess coming in. I agree with that. And that's how my mother got in, through that lottery. So it took 2 administrations, but she got in early, thankfully. And we got here legally. So anybody who tells me, well, you're Latino, guess what? There's a lot of Latinos in Florida that are pro-Trump because they're hearing this nonsense coming out of the left. And Kaiser, and I attribute this to being young and dumb. A lot of Latinos, when they're young, come up and they don't understand what socialism is, because, a lot of them didn't live it. They don't understand how bad it could get in a place like Cuba or Venezuela. They don't understand, how corrupt these governments are. They don't understand the suffering and the torture because they never lived it. They've been in this country, and when they have the Ocasio-Cortezes and you have all these liberal tards that are coming out saying how beautiful socialism is, and they're following Bernie Sanders with his communist rhetoric, and the socialist Democrats and their rhetoric, and, they're being brainwashed as their kids to say, hey, you know what, we should bring socialism to America. Why? Why would they come to this country to escape that evil, so they try to turn this country into what they just left? That makes no sense whatsoever. Not to me,
it does.
And I'm Latino.
It does, brother, and I'll tell you why it does. I saw communism for the first time in Europe. I mean, actually at the wall. I worked Checkpoint Charlie as a military policeman. Before that, for reasons, I was staying with my cousin. He was going for his master's degree, political science, at OSU. And he used to throw me all kinds of books, read this, and I read Das Kapital, all these different books, right? Marx, Lenin, all this stuff. And so I pretty much was close to being a communist in thought. And I'm being honest about this. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until I saw the reality of what East Germany looked like and the difference between the two nations. And they were two nations, by the way. They may have been one Germany, but they were not united. They were two separate, even they have different phraseology of their wordings.
Oh, yeah. That's
interesting. True. They spoke German, but it's almost. Anyways, I don't want to get into the.
It's almost like China, where they have like different dialects, and it's like a block
exactly.
Apart. Yeah.
Or
like Mandarin,
America, you got the Southern drawl, got the California slang, the New York slang, and then fly over people like me in Ohio. But the point is, without getting too deep into it, once I saw that, I still was kind of a lefty until my first war. And that was the first Gulf War. And anyways, it was just an interesting time in my life and an awakening. And there's that old saying that has been attributed to Churchill, but somebody else, I guess, said it before him. If you're not liberal when you're a young man, you have no compassion. If you're still liberal after 30, you have no mind. And that's really all I say on that.
No, I agree, and that's a discussion I would get with my nephews and whatnot, because they're all liberal-minded, and I understand that because I was there. But once you get to a certain age, you have to have open eyes and open mind about what the reality of the world is. If you don't, you just become a sucker and a sheeple to the system.
Well, I mean, I'd love to hear Brandon's take on this, but I do believe there's a big difference. I still sometimes believe that I'm a classical liberal. And what I mean by that is that I believe in taking care of Americans, our people, this, that, and the other, and bringing up the downtrodden, but also with pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. But that's the community that can help. A brother finds another brother a job who's a neighbor or something. That kind of thing, right? Because you're all local, That's where genuine help can come from. Actually, boots on the ground that are natural to the neighborhood. But I'm way conservative fiscally. If it doesn't make sense, and definitely politically, I'm pretty right, politically, because there's right ways and wrong ways. If we want to get rid of all laws, we're following the Cloward and Piven Act, or, their little book. I can't think of the name of it now. But those two professors were poisoned. And that's one of the things, and I like Trump, this, and so does Brandon. But with this,
Brendan loves Trump.
Yeah. How many trillions of dollars did we just put in? And it wasn't just for the people, and it should have been for the small companies, but we again did it for major corporations. I don't like that. They're not going to go bankrupt. They're not in danger of going bankrupt. If those trillions went to small businesses, like your business, PSN Radio, and
right,
all the affiliates there, if you did that to keep yourself afloat and took that SB small business loan, that'd be awesome. If it was just limited to people like you, the car lot down the road, whatever. But instead, they mixed it up, and I don't approve of that. So I know he had to sign that complete to get it passed through the simple-ass Congress we have, which is socialist. It's not liberal. The progressives are not liberal. That's why a lot of liberals have moved right, and it's because that's not the party the Democrats were. With some older liberals, they just now have woken up that I know, classical liberals, that this party is not the party of Thomas Jefferson, the Democratic Party. And it's become the Socialist Party. Anyway, so definitely want to hear your thoughts, Brandon and Angel.
Brandon, go for it. You go first, since you've been silent for most of the segment. And I know you love yourself some Donald Trump.
No party affiliation, so.
But you love Trump. Yeah, do we lose Brandon, or are you still there?
I think the left has
really.
There he goes. Oh, go ahead, Jack. I'm sorry, man.
Yeah, we lost you for a second there. Go ahead. Restart your thought.
You guys probably know that I'm an outlier here in the political scene. I don't trust the left or right. I've always been like that. Jack, I know what you're saying. There's a lot of Latino support for, especially here in Florida, for Trump, and I'm perfectly fine with that. And there's a growing black support as well. I have my own reasons why I don't trust left or right. We'll have to devote a whole show to that one day.
Oh, no, we're on the same page there. I don't trust either side either, but I trust the president because of what he does. See, I don't like judging people by, jokes or whatever, the words they might use. I judge them by their actions. And so far, what he's been doing has been on the money. Just follow what he's done. Continue,
Yeah, I think the left has really been trying to discredit the president. They've been trying to distract him, distract you, distract me. And I think Trump is actually doing an okay job considering. I think what's conflicting with him is what actions the states are taking right now, whether you're talking about COVID-19 or our economy basis in each municipality in each state. But I think the left is really trying to distract us. And then we got, the Bernie Sanders movement, like you just mentioned. The whole introduces socialist to America. It doesn't work here. I mean, fundamentally, it's a flawed system, and it doesn't work here. It won't work now. It won't work 1,000 years from now. And I think that, Bernie is a sugar daddy. We know that.
No kidding. An old one.
I don't
he
need
looks
the
like one
false
too.
hopes. You've already been given that enough. But I've been through Clinton. I've been through both times. I've been through Obama. I've been through both Bushes. If I want to go back, a few more years, there's just no place for the socialist movement in America. I'm not into it. It's not going to work. It's going to cause a collapse. I mean, it's just another. Let's just say it's a sugar-coated form of communism. That's all it is.
I agree. And
yeah.
Brandon, I have to say this too, brother. I don't trust either party either. But Trump was something that I saw unique. Back in 2012, he was talking about running, if memory serves. And when he came down the escalator, I was like, he's going to win. And the reason why, he's a disruptor. We had a guy when I was young, just got out of the Marine Corps and was going into the National Guard starting college. A guy by the name of Ross Perot, who was running against
he was running against Clinton, I think. Yeah,
Clinton and Bush.
Yeah,
and
yep.
He was an independent.
Ross Perot, I'm all ears.
And I was a supporter of
just caught that.
I'm all ears. I love it, bro. I caught it late. But I will say this. He was a disruptor. And I think that's what we needed, a businessman. Yep. And I've said this for years, and I thought Bush Jr. was. I know Bush Sr. I knew Bush Sr. was a neocon, and I don't like neocons for many reasons. But I thought he was more of the businessman kind of thing. He didn't have his dad's deep state ties. And so I voted for him twice, and I honestly don't regret it. It wasn't until the middle of his second term he really went neocon, and that was because of the people he surrounded himself with. But I disagreed with a lot towards the end of him. But, yeah, I don't trust either of them because both parties are just two heads feeding the same snake body. And when you have a president that both the Republicans, who are neocons, and the progressives, the leftists, the extreme leftists, when they hate you, you're doing something right.
That's the exact point. You hit it right on the head. And that, folks, is why I voted for Trump. Because when both sides of the coin hate you and they're afraid of your presidency, and when that happens, that tells me that you're not bought and paid for. And one thing we know about Trump, he doesn't need their money. That's why, and I've said it for years, and, even before I had a podcast, guys, I was saying this to family and friends as I got more and more into politics. The one thing this country needs less of is lawyer presidents, and that's all we've ever had. We need a business billionaire who can be bought and paid for as president. I was seeing this in the 90s, early 2000s, as I saw what I kept seeing. And Trump, is somebody who's been in the media for years as what? A businessman. In fact, his most famous book, and I got into this conversation a few days ago, is, of course, The Art of the Deal, right? That's the one everybody talks about. That's not his best book. You know what his best book is? The Art of the Comeback.
Yep. When he lost it all and brought it right back. I know exactly that book, and it was awesome.
Now, the reason that book is phenomenal for everybody to read, whether you've had the downfall or not, it tells you word by word what this man did, and he explains it in the way that we all can understand it. If you read that book, you're going to understand the mind of Trump. See, people on the left try to play him as some big dummy with orange face. He plays 4D chess when everybody's still playing checkers. Okay, he's way ahead of everybody. That's why in February he was telling everybody, hey, we need to lock down the planes coming in from China because guess what? There's problems coming in. We've known about it since January, probably December, okay? And then you have nasty Nancy Pelosi trying like not to drop her dentures on national TV in San Francisco saying, it's all a joke. The president is racist and homophobic and xenophobic and he hates the world. Come on down to San Francisco and party. Let loose with your cock out in San Francisco. Come on, everybody. That's not leadership. We don't need that.
That was disturbing. And also de Blasio, they both did the same thing. Come on out to Chinatown. Not like all the Chinese that just left Wuhan wouldn't congregate there. Because the dark secret is those wet markets aren't just in China, Hong Kong, and other places. We have them in some of those little areas because we allow their cultural things, but they do get looked at, health-wise.
Yep.
They're not selling some of the same things, but they sell some bizarre foods there. I will say this. It's all about, I understand the cultural thing, but Trump reacted. I mean, dude, Wuhan, this is why I've gone in depth onto this, where even if it was an accidental release from their level 4 containment facility, which was one of the bioweapon centers they have, just like we do, Lyme disease came from Lyme, Connecticut, because there was a little place off the coast next to New York in that called Plum Island. And some deer swam over there and got a tick on him. And that's why people get hit with Lyme disease. It's not a racist thing to call it, the Wuhan flu or H1N1 or H1N1 came from China. All these things, but they wrap around. There's German flu. You have the Spanish flu. I mean, it's not xenophobic and racist to say this crap. It's mind-boggling.
And it's not xenophobic or racist to shut airlines coming in from a country that is spreading a disease. Guys, so hold on one second. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back on the other side of the hour, we have our good friend Arizona Tramp who's going to join this show. And we're going to continue conversation with Kaiser, Brandon, Tramp, myself. This is Inside the Jackal's Head. Please don't go anywhere. And if you guys want to call in, you're always welcome. Just look us up on Skype, PSN Radio. We'll be right back. All right, everybody, welcome back to Inside the Jackal's Head. And we're now joined by our good friend, the swamp go-getter himself. That's right, Arizona Tramp coming in directly from the swamps. How you doing, brother? Welcome back to Inside the Jackal's Head.
Hello, my friend. How you doing? It's good to be back on the air, man. I haven't been on the air in, it's been close to, over a year now.
It has. How are you keeping up with the latest outbreak? The terror within.
Oh, well, we sit around the house and watch the bullshit news and how they try to scare you more and more every single day. And I go out and ride my motorcycle and do projects around the house, and that's about it.
And are you going to church?
You know me better than that.
I'm guessing he's not covered in the blood of Christ right now.
No,
I'm guessing I'm not. This is I'm a heathen, man. I'm a pagan.
You're an infidel.
It's all good. My Thor's hammer's around my neck, so you're in good company.
There you go. We're all okay. We're indoors. Yeah. We're not putting anybody at risk, and that's the way we all should be taking this. And we're joking about this, and at the same time, it is serious because any outbreak could lead to hundreds of thousands of people dying. This is something that's part of the problem where people are not listening, and it's like numbers don't compute to some people. Like I'm a numbers guy. And when I see figures come out of certain countries, I always think I'm getting lowballed. So when they tell me 100,000, that probably means more closer to 1 million people have died. And especially when it's coming out of China. You know what I mean? I don't trust the Chinese. Sorry.
Dude. Last October, I got pneumonia. I got really sick, and all my witchy cures that I use in order to make myself better when I'm sick didn't work. And I ended up getting pneumonia, and I went to the hospital, and my wife's daughter ended up coming down with the same stuff, and Kelly came down with it, and other people that I know came down with it all last year between October and November. And then everybody got well, and then China came out with all this crap, and I'm going, there's something going on. And you start following the money. Where's the money going? And it's like, okay, $9,000 per test. There's some of the money right there.
Well, if you ever want to know who our next enemy is, just look where our money is being put. My whole point on the whole Wuhan thing is once China knew what it had, and this is where we left off when we left, and I'll just finish it out. Wuhan, we were talking about it being a level 4 containment facility, which is bioweapons research. Once they knew they had an outbreak, they allowed 40,000 people that week to flee Wuhan to the U.S. They had direct flights to the U.S. and from Wuhan. And they allowed that kind of, and whether it's intentional or not intentional, their lack of candor and truthfulness on this issue does make this a bioweapons terrorist attack, in my opinion. And
I agree.
Expert on my opinion.
I have to agree with you on that.
Yep.
There was reports coming out at the time, because there was a revolution going on at the time, that they released this in order to stop the revolution, right? Does that make sense?
Yep. In Hong Kong, right. And that's the first layover on that Chinese trip. And I've talked about this several times. It's now, and because I think they let it go, and I'm going to tell you my honest opinion why. I honestly think they let that go because they knew it was going to hit them hard economically, and they were like, fuck it, it'll hit the whole world economically, which makes this also an economic terrorist attack. If we do go to a depression, here's the thing that's worrying. If we do go to a depression geopolitically, we're talking globally, what we can look forward to is the normal reset. And it's happened 2 times in the last century, World War I and World War II. We could be looking at the beginning of a new world war.
This is what I've been saying, and this is what I think, what I believe. I believe that it is time to change things over to digital, that this is their way to cover things up during a so-called plague, that they want to switch everything over to digital and get rid of paper cash. They want to kill the small business and so on and so on. And it's all about the money. The numbers, they certainly don't match, because a real plague, 25 to 50,000, 25 to 50% of the global population dies during a real plague. That is factual. You can go look it up. Anybody can look that up, except for don't look up the latest stuff, because that's lies. You have to look back to the plague of, what was it, whatever stopped World War I. You have to go back
1918
to
right.
18. What was it? 1820, 1820, 1820, 1822.
But he's talking about the original plague in the 1800s, before the 1910.
Well, there was the bubonic plague, and there were several other plagues, and it took out half the world's population. This is child's play. This is okay. Well, let's talk about this, and let's have everybody sick and make sure everybody stays in the house, so that they don't see that we're putting up all this 5G stuff that they don't want us to put up. You know, they're doing
which is funny. Hold on, let me stop you right there. That's funny you mentioned 5G, because I saw a report on this a couple of days ago, and I sadly enough, I don't have the audio ready. Where a reporter went up to a couple of guys working on the street, and they're working on installing fiber optics for 5G technology. Gee, everybody's supposed to be locked indoors, right? And yeah, we have workers working on the street installing, and this is in New York, I believe that's where it was, upstate, and they're installing fiber optic cables to run the 5G network. Now, let me ask you guys, is this outbreak really about a virus or about doing things where we don't see what they're doing, but they're doing it with us locked in? So it's like, for example, I've asked, I've been asked, and I've asked this question myself of people within ufology, like, the common question is, well, the aliens are running around and their ships flying everywhere. Why doesn't everybody see them? Well, the easy answer is, are you always looking up to the sky? No, you're minding your business, driving to your work, driving to school. Most of us don't always spend, hours looking up, sky watching. So, of course, you're not going to see something flying real quick. There might be some kind of UFO that, to the common folk, they might be flying right over their head and they might never notice. Now, it's the same kind of thing. If you tell everybody, hey, go indoors, you have to lock in. This is a pandemic of epic proportion. And China, who likes to fudge numbers, is responsible. And, there is also the Harvard teacher with the 3 spies that they busted with the coronavirus. Now it's, in October, November of last year when that happened, or maybe it was December, it was around that time. So we've known that this is about to happen, and of course the only person that was responsible enough to say, hey, wait a second, what the hell's going on here, and stop the flights coming in from China was the president. And then they slandered him. And then you have, of course, the left saying, oh, he's a xenophobe. I wonder who they are working for. Because guess what? The guy from Harvard who got stopped and his 3 companions from China, they're all socialist Democrats. Okay?
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing I think. I mean, on the 5G stuff, me and Joe Emanon, a brother, both
shout out to Brother Joe.
Probably the preeminent show on 5G because his backstory and his knowledge. He's just a phenomenal man, and I love that show. It's one of my favorites, by the way.
And no homo, but I love that man. Joe's cool.
I know that man, and we disagree politically vehemently, and I still love the man.
Correct.
But here's the point that I was getting to: the whole Wuhan thing. People aren't looking at it in the right way. And I think here's a twist. Maybe it's not conspiratorial like I'm thinking. Maybe it is to try to get Americans back into more of a preparedness mindset. And maybe I'm missing something. And I have to be honest about that because the way both you and the Swamp Man were talking, maybe I'm missing something. I mean, it's basic to me because I just naturally live this way. Maybe because of the way the way your conversation was going, and I don't want to queer it now. I want you guys to go on with it. But maybe this might be President Trump saying, this is a shot across the bow. Maybe the Americans should start to get prepared for something else because notice now, liberals in big cities are buying guns.
Yeah.
And we all know guns kill people.
I agree with you on that. I have to agree with you on that because, and the reason is that somebody knows something that's about to happen that could go very, very wrong. And like we were talking about with the original plagues that happen roughly every 100 years or so, they're using this as the perfect opportunity to say, well, okay, here's our 100-year plague. This isn't the 100-year plague that's going to come. That's about to come. So when all this is done by, late August or September, then the real shit's going to hit the fan and everything's going to be out of control to a point where they can't never bring it back. It's going to take 200 years to bring it back to where it is now.
I don't know what was going on there, but we were getting like coded messages within every word. Am I the only one that heard the ding, ding, every time you said something?
No, you could hear the ding dings. Yeah.
There's a lot of ding ding going on there. Yeah, you were hitting it on the head, I guess, because it was like ding, ding, ding. I don't know what that was, but that wasn't a sound bite of mine.
Did that come out on tape? Is that going to come out on tape like that?
Oh, yeah. Everything you say right now is recorded right now.
It's being
We're
recorded.
in the now. We could be in the later, but right now we're in the now, and everything you say now records now.
It's good that I could understand your point perfectly. So
yes,
but the ding dings might be a little distracting. But your point was well taken, brother, and
yes.
I appreciate that.
About 30, man.
Now let me add to that. Let me add to the ding dings here. Well, you're in the swamp, so we understand, Tramp. Hold on, let me add to that. Well, I actually do think you're almost exactly the same page I am, Kaiser. I don't think we're too far apart. I do think that even the president has said, okay, we do know that these things are happening, right? He warned everybody. There are people dying from the coronavirus. That we know, okay? Now there is a lot of fakeness going on, and he might be saying, okay, you guys want to play this game? Well, this is really the result of what's happening. And so when he locked down China and he was getting called all these things, he said, okay, well, you guys want to keep playing the game? When did he get to the point where you're going to have to be in line just to enter a Walmart? Right? Bernie Sanders said, oh, lines are cool. You want socialism? This is, not that far off from what you're going to expect at a much, much reduced level. Because when it gets really bad, it's going to be 100 times worse than whatever anybody's experiencing right now. So there might be a little bit of a mind game going on, ironically enough, on election year 2020. But at the same time, we do have to have our responsibilities and do the things like not going to church for the next couple of weeks. At the same time, because we don't know who to believe. Who's telling us the truth? We know CNN lies. They've been busted. Look at the Veritas Project. They've been busted countless times lying on the president. All right. We know the right has issues. The left has issues. Congress, known liars everywhere. I mean, hold on. But, both sides have liars and people are trying to steer us one way or the other. The only one that I've seen by his actions and has done things to at least alleviate the problem has been Trump. Now, even the guy who they're trying to promote as the next commander-in-chief up in New York, Andrew Cuomo, the brother of Fredo Corleone Cuomo, even he has been caught on several lies, and he's been kind of spinning things in a remotely, in a remote way to make himself look good. But guess who came out? The governor of California, and recently said in an interview when he was being pressed to slander Trump, he said, no, Trump has actually done a great job. And if it wasn't for his actions, there'd be a lot more dead right now in California. Because, they weren't paying attention in California. Remember guys, this is a United States of America. Okay, and who's the leader of this country? The president. So if the president says, hey guys, we got to be careful, you should pay attention. You should not be out in San Francisco like Nancy Pelosi saying, come on, come party. Doesn't work that way. There's a tug of war going on, and it's really scary at this moment between the left and the right. But if you follow the information, you follow what's been going on, they did arrest these guys coming out from Harvard. That happened. They were known guys spying for the Chinese government in America. One, a teacher at Harvard, and 3 Chinese spies. So that happened, and yet the news media doesn't want to report it. And of course, what did we have all the way through the end of last year and to earlier this year, before this outbreak became news? We had what? Impeachment going on. So, they wanted to
distract him.
They want to slander and smear the president, but yet he is doing everything in his power during an impeachment that was based on lies and bullshit and made up stuff by Hillary Clinton, Christopher Steele, Adam Schifferbrain, the leftist frauds, the fraud squad, or, as I like to call them, everybody calls them the squad. They're a bunch of fraudulent congresswomen, the fraud squad. And of course, the Queen Bee, Nancy Pelosi, or Nasty Nancy, as I like to call her. All these people on the left, and they're all being organized and bought and paid for by the same groups. There's a big oligarchy behind all these groups on the left that are really running the show, and this is all being bought and paid for by the powers that be, to destroy the president, to destroy the country, to unite the world in one global economy, one world order. And, we're kind of going in a one world currency as it is. And speaking of paperless, we kind of are being forced into that because there's not enough paper to go around to even pay back China's debt they've been buying for, 30 years now? And that's just a known fact. In fact, there is a lawsuit pending for like $20 trillion against China for this outbreak. Good luck getting that. That's going to be another, red flag to go to World War III with China. You don't think this is where this is leading into? This is exactly what it's leading into, because what we're having, guys, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, this is one big cockfight. Whose dick is bigger, whose God is better, and who's got more money? Who's got a bigger army? China or the United States? Because one at the end of the day wants to be the superpower. Whoever, that was the ding. Ding, go for it.
I think we're heading towards a one world government. I think that this is all going to turn digital, and that when it turns digital, they're going to wipe the slate clean, and nobody's going to owe anybody nothing. And
I think you're going digital right now with a ding.
Yeah, that's the reset I was talking about earlier in the show, brother. Brandon, what's your thoughts, man?
It's definitely the sign of a new. I've been thinking about this for a while. It's funny you mentioned that, Kaiser. I think this is definitely a sign there could be a new world order, collective order, whatever you want to call it, at some point. Between, I think you mentioned this last time we talked, between the fear, they're trying to bankrupt businesses, they're trying to control people. To me, this is a sign of it could be potentially leading to another world war. I've been seeing signs of this probably for the last 10 to 15 years. They've definitely tried to fracture the Constitution of America. They've tried to control the people. They've tried to I think that what's going on right now is a form of population control, and they're not concerned specifically with one ethnic group, like I hate to say, like some black people, even some Latinos thing. I think they're trying to control everybody now. They're not discriminating anymore.
Hey, I'll tell you this, brother. This is something that I talked about on one of my shows. When I was a federal cop still, and I was working on the Sea Island conference, I had a brother of mine. I'll just say his last name, McGee. He's a black gentleman, really great guy. He was my partner. Anyways, he had to get this book. He didn't bring his car down. He flew. And so he had to get this book. And one day I took him to get it. It was called How to Make a Slave. You guys can read it. It's more like a pamphlet, not really a book. But talks about you got to separate the man, in their words, their flowery words back then, the Negro from the Negress. And make the Negress dependent on you for all the kids' food, this, that, and the other, right? Anyways, it goes into more depth. I don't want to get into the whole thing, but you guys can read it if you want to edify yourself and actually understand it. The only reason I know what it said is after he read it, he goes, see, this is what the conditions of us are. And he said, you got to read this, brother. So I read it. And when I read it, this is during my libertarian phase in 2004, I gave it back to him and I said, brother, they're doing it to everybody now. And that's welfare. That's all these little state programs. And so the point is, at this point, I guess here's how the crux of what I'll say. In my opinion, that I agree with everybody who said something right now within this parameter. Because, I make my living in war. That's what I do. I've always done this. since I was 17. About every shithole you can name.
It's fantastic.
And you know that, Angel, and so does Brandon. I don't bullshit. My thing is, there is something afoot that I haven't been able to put my finger on the pulse on for a while. China's never been our friend, even when Nixon went there. Nixon had reservations about going there and giving them legitimacy, let alone letting them have our debt. And yet he was the one who took us off the silver standard. So we have some issues that are very deep, and I don't think we have time left in the show to go into them, but I do see... I don't see it. I'm not some clairvoyant. And if somebody is, look, I'm a pagan, but I'm also a Christ believer. I'm a Christ cuck too. I believe that this is like revelations shit. Could be. I'm not a fear porn guy.
Well, I'll tell you this much. Let me say something, because you might be on the nail there, and I'm not religious. I do think I'm agnostic, and I've said this many times. I believe there might be something out there. I'm just, not smart enough to understand what God is, or whatever. That's neither here nor there. But I do think this much. Revelations doesn't have to be prophetic. Revelations, if you're religious and you follow a doctrine enough, you could manifest it and make it happen by doing things a certain way and conditioning the population to follow a train of thought and follow a mythology and an ideology that are going to lead you to what they want it to lead to. And they could say, see, this is all part of the Bible and Revelations. Well, thank you for leading us into this path. And this is like how a lot of psychics work. They'll tell you something very, very vague that could, pretty much cover everybody at one point or another in their lives. And then when it happens to you...
That's how fake.
Yeah, ding, ding, you're right again. But that's how fake psychic works. Or fake psychics work. Sorry, my Cuban came out. But that's exactly what it is. They do that, and I've seen it happen. Look, my father was married to a fake psychic, and one day she goes to me, I swear she read the cards for me, and she said, oh, you're going to be traveling very spontaneously in the future. I see that, one day you're just going to get up and you're just going to have to go somewhere. And I'm like, really? Because I didn't just tell you 2 weeks ago that I just started a job in the travel agency. Gee, how ironic that that's why you see in my cards for the future.
This is what I see.
Good thing.
I see this. It's almost very clearly, you don't have to be psychic to see this. All you have to do is have a brain in your head that in order they want a one world government, and we've known this for a long time. Well, in order for that to happen, they have to dumb some of the countries down, so to speak, and bring them down to their level. What are they doing in this country right fucking now?
They're normalizing. This is all. Here's the thing, and I love that you brought that up, because my bailiwick. You don't know my backstory. I started out in the military there was communism, and this is one of the phases. There's a gentleman going by the name of Yuri Bezmenov, and he talks about the state of normalization. And normalization is political correctness. And people, I despise it when people tell me Bill Clinton was the first time that political correctness was mentioned from a president. If you go back and listen to a speech, it was George H.W. Bush who said 1,000 points of light, his 1,000 points of light speech, a kinder, gentler, more politically correct society. So that's why it's not one party or the other. It's the neocons and the neoprogs, and they're making their move.
I remember that speech.
What they're doing is they're dumbing the things down. They want to go to a digital thing, and they're going to use the excuse of all this COVID-19 crap. Well, This works easier if it's digital instead of paper because of all the problems we had. My wife still hasn't gotten her unemployment check, and it's been 4 weeks since she's been out of work. You know, and they're using all this paperwork, backlog, and bull crap and stuff. So they want to make everything all digital, and they want to use this for the excuse to do that. That's the first dumbing down. The second dumbing down is the chip that's going to go in you, or you're going to carry it, one or the other. And that way everybody has an ID, just like in the book 1984.
Tramp, let me stop you right there. Hold on, let me stop right there. That chip is already here. It's called your smartphone. They know exactly where we're at all times. They don't need to chip us anymore. We're chipped enough. You don't need to actually implant the chip any longer. They have us under surveillance at all times. Anytime you go anywhere, you have GPS. Don't you think that's tracking you?
The phone, no. The phone, you know why I can say I don't use my phone for business whatsoever.
Yeah, but there's other ways to tracking you, brother. Believe me. Where there's a government,
they do have other ways of tracking you.
Yes.
Yes, they do. But I don't use my phone to pay any bills online. There's nothing about my bank account or anything on my phone.
But you have a cell phone. But you have a cell phone. Okay, I understand. But you have a cell phone, right?
I have a cell phone so I can run my mouth on your show. Basically, I have a cell phone.
And it sounds spectacular, by the way.
Huh?
It sounds spectacular.
Does it? Okay.
Mr. Roboto.
But my point being is that I do have a credit card. I have my bank card, my debit card. That's where the chip would end up being.
That's it. What do you have in your card now? You have a chip. Yeah. That's it. Look, you have your credit card. What does it have now? A chip. Remember we used to always slide the card? Now it's a chip.
Yeah. So everybody is going to be mandated to have these kind of ID tags. You're going to have to be forced to put them in children. Why? Because then they can recover the child when the child's stolen. That's what they're going to use for the excuse.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. But again, in the future, even implants are obsolete at this point. They don't need them. They have us everywhere.
Well,
and social media helps out because look how many millions of people join Facebook, Twitter, Instacart or whatever these things are called. Every week is like a different retarded social network comes online. Snapchat, DChat, BitChute, DLive, Blog Trash Radio, Spreaker. You have all these different platforms everywhere where literally hundreds of thousands of people were, guilty of being online. Also, everybody's online, right? I started on Blog Trash Radio, like a lot of podcasters. And then I said, you know what, screw that, I'm gonna do my own thing. That's why I created PSN Radio. That's why there's all kind of, underground media, as I like to call us. They've all come out, and we've become the word of the people because we can't trust the mainstream media. We know that for a fact. They're all bought and paid for. So, we are the voices that are going to get the message to the right people, which is, everybody else who wants to listen. But the point is, guess who else could listen? Big Brother. And they know exactly what we're saying. They know what's going on. That's why Trump, when he said this one thing about, war, when he was running for president, and they asked him, well, if you were in a condition, Mr. Trump, where you're, targeted by a country or where you had some reason or conflict to go to war, would you do it? And how would you address it and announce it ahead of time? And he said, that's stupid. Why would I address it ahead of time? I'm going to do the action. I'm not going to tell anybody. And then, I'll deal with what I have to deal with. Why would I let my enemies know what's going on? No, and you want to call him you want to say he's stupid? That's the smartest thing ever.
Angel. Earlier, you guys were talking about something called Digital Angel. I know about this because when I went over working for a certain place to Afghanistan one of my times, I got a little chip put in my hand. Not a big problem. I had it removed when I came back. And that's for in case you got captured. They could maybe locate you. Okay? What you're talking about now, it's all about transactions. Cameras. Okay, let's say you go to Kroger, or down in Arizona, it's Smith's. Let's say you go to Smith's, and let's say I'm staying down towards Meadview, or I'm down there towards anyways, whatever. It is what it is. But Smith's 55 miles due east. You'll find a little place called, what was the name of that place? Kingman, Arizona. And I go there and I use my card. I don't use cash. Or I buy a pay-as-you-go cell phone, but I use my card. Now they have your number because you've used your card to buy that cell phone that you activated. If you buy a card, the card to refill, and you use non-cash, they now know that you have that phone numbers connected to you. And then you use the credit card anywhere, they know what's happening. So, anyways, like I said, and then they get video coverage. They can go there and ask for the video. It's a lot to try to explain to you guys, but man, if you knew how easy it is to roll up anybody, it's very easy. And I'm talking anybody, because people have to use the plastic. They get captured on video. There's ways that, you can, certain public videos like banks and shit, they don't need a warrant for that. That's all goes to a certain security company, and they can find out who's security company and blah, 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 blah. So they'll find out where you're at eventually. Plane tickets, notice you have to always present an ID now.
That's easy.
Didn't used to have to do that. You also need to pay with a credit card. Didn't used to have to do that, and you have to pay beforehand so they can check you out before you fly. So police will be waiting for you or whatever. Anyway, so this is all fact. It's
all part of the plan, as the Joker would say.
Yeah, you're in the network. You are in the Matrix.
Oh yeah. In fact, a movie that came out before The Matrix, and this came out in 1998, and I'm sure you guys are familiar with this movie.
Enemy of the State.
Enemy of the State, correct. Damn, you're good. If you watch that movie, 1998, we're talking about 20 plus years ago, the technology shown in that movie at that time was real. Now, fast forward 20 years later, now it's 100 times better. Think about that.
I guarantee you, I was able to get from, I can't get into specifics on this, but for a certain thing that was happening, real time, of course it cost me a bottle of booze to do it, but from a certain agency that handles satellites, and also they'll also control some global star stuff. Can't get into all this stuff deeply, but I just gave him a bottle of something, and he gave me real-time pictures. And we're talking, here's the clarity of the pictures, folks. If you're wearing corrective glasses, or you're just looking with the bare naked eye, if you have 20/20 vision, picture yourself standing up on a common porch roof and looking down. That's the clarity from space, or from a global star up circling somewhere over a certain country.
Right. Which, it's ironic. We have all this stuff happening. What did we announce, a year ago? Space Force.
And we also are allowing police to buy drones now. A lot of people don't know this.
Yeah. This is true. It's amazing the level of what Big Brother is capable of doing. And we do know this much. Big Brother is, a little bit above even the president's head. So when I say Big Brother, a lot of people are thinking, oh, there he goes, he's blaming Trump again. No. Remember, the same Big Brother are the ones that started the whole stuff with Trump and the Russian Spygate bullshit hoax. They're the ones that had the FISA warrants trying to get this man in trouble. There was nothing there. Big Brother goes really deep into the swamp. Big Brother goes really deep into the Matrix. And this is scarier not just because of COVID-19. This is scarier because of, right now this is happening at a global scale where everybody's paying attention to what's happening. And now everybody's starting to understand that what, people laughed at 10, 20 years ago as, these guys are a bunch of conspiracy nuts. Well,
look, any federal law enforcement agency with the permission of a supervisor or intelligence agency can have NRO, National Reconnaissance Office, or they can get what used to be, NSA used to only have its antennas facing outward. Now it faces inward and outwards. If you don't believe me, look at Bluffton, Utah. And they have a massive collection of data. They say it's metadata, but metadata leads to the actual data. And then they can go line by line. That's why texting is stupid. Messaging is stupid when you type. Any kind of communication you think secured isn't secured. And there's nothing, the most secure thing is what McAfee was going to come out with, where he pinged off everybody's cell phones that were in the network, because you could never prove who was where and when, because you could ping to somebody in, let's say you're walking down the block in New York and he's talking to somebody in Ohio. All of a sudden you're pinging off the Ohio number and you're pinging everywhere. And like I said, notice McAfee never came out with that.
That's a lot of ping.
Process. Yeah.
That's a lot of ping. We're almost out of time here. Tramp, any final words here before we run out of time?
Well, yeah, I kind of missed this. It's been fun, guys, man. I do appreciate you asking me back on the show tonight. You should do it more often.
As long as we get the ping out of ping. Don't get ping you back on anytime, my friend. You're always welcome back on the show. Just stay swamp free and coronavirus free, for the love of God, whoever that might be.
Oh, yeah.
Detox, Brandon, any last words before we go off the air in a couple of minutes here?
Yeah, it was a great show tonight. I was glad to talk to each one of you tonight. Hope to do it again next week. I'll be back with you guys. I think with this whole situation that's going on, I think there's been signs of this going on for a long time. I know for a fact the president said that, there was something going on in Wuhan. There was something, we've already been through all this months ago. And I think that on a global scale, I think this is a problem that people need to be aware of. But we had plenty of warning signs that this was coming. We knew about this months ago, but of course you had the media distraction going on, all this other, left versus right stuff going on. It was just pointless. And now here we are in the middle of they like to use the word pandemic now, just to, people are over dramatizing stuff these days. But, we had time to prepare for this, but, I think we'll get over it at some point soon, hopefully.
That's all we can do is hope that we can get over it. And let me give you my final thoughts, everybody. We're all in a position right now where we have to be careful regardless of whether we think this is a conspiracy, a hoax, or it's reality. Just for our own common good, we gotta, make sure that we're taking care of ourselves and our loved ones at all times. Doesn't mean that you gotta, bite your nails and pull your hair out and go crazy and commit suicide like some folks are already doing, which, by the way, Trump warned would happen if we continue to scare people. Right? He said that. And we continued with this rhetoric, and we didn't try to be optimistic, and we kept everything shut down. You're gonna have mass suicide. We already had a couple reported, this past week. So guys, don't take that route. We can get over this if we all just keep our cool and our collective. But at the same time, keep your eyes open, because you never know what is coming around the block. Remember, they can do what they did to Trump and spy on a guy who just became president and lie and smear him and make this big deal, which again, this is a socialist communist agenda that's driving a lot of this stuff, to smear and destroy the world and the government as we know it and build their quote unquote new world order. If that's what this is going towards, you have to have an open conscience, open mind, open eyes at all times. But at the same time, don't go crazy and start killing yourself. It's not worth it. Just keep it cool, keep it safe. And at the end of the day, I think we'll see a brighter day with a lot more sunshine than with the darkness that we're, facing right now. One thing I did want to get to before we go off the air in about a minute, starting next week, we're going to have a show that's going to be following us every week here on Sunday nights by our good friend Mitchell Nicholas Gerber, who's going to be joining us on PSN Radio with Unleashed Truth Radio. and it's going to be live for an hour, taking calls, talking about what's going on in the world. And of course, he's brought to my attention something that is probably even part of this entire nightmare, which is the dealings with China and the Falun Gong, and everything that's been going on with this poor group of spiritual warriors that does not deserve to have been have happened what's happened with them. So next week, starting on Sunday nights, following Inside the Jackal's Head, you have to look forward to Unleashed Truth Radio, again with Mitchell Nicholas Gerber. So please, guys, come back next week. Tune in to that. Tune in to us at 10 p.m. Eastern, again, psn-radio.com. And if you can check out the podcast for free on angelespino.com. Please hit me up on Patreon, Angel Espino, right there on Patreon, and PSN Radio on Patreon. Support the cause, help us out. A couple bucks helps, and keeps us afloat on the network and on this show. We're not monetized by any other areas. We don't run many ads, but we do try to stay afloat that way. And with the trouble in the economy, every little helps. So please check us out in those areas, and come back next week for more mind-blowing radio. This is radio for the masses, Inside the Jackal's Head. Guys, for all my loyal listeners, and for the people on the line, Kaiser, for Arizona Tramp, the wise frog himself, and my sidekick Brandon, I bid you all good evening, good night, bon voyage, and stay alive, stay safe, and stay coronavirus free, my friends. Till next time, here's a little space boy for your minds. Take care, everybody.